Hello, beautiful muses, and welcome to CosmoMuse Tarot. This week we have a reading that is going to take us back into the Celtic Wheel of the Year. And if you've followed this series before, maybe you have some familiarity, but I will just go into this. So every 6 weeks there's a new Celtic season. There's one for each quarter, so that aligns with the solstices and equinoxes, but there's also one that sits at the midpoint between each of those, which are called cross-quarter seasons. And each of these, so there's 8 of these throughout the year, and each of them spans about 6 weeks. And when this is coming out, we will be a couple days away from the Samhain season, which is where Halloween was derived, and it is sort of taking us into the more northern territory of the Celtic Wheel, ruled by the element of water, by the elder. It's where the realm of the Fae live, the fairy. It's has all sorts of beautiful things. Let me just look at, so I'm going to use the Season of the Witch Oracle deck, which I always use if there's one for that season. They don't have one yet for each of them, but they do have one for Samhain. So I just thought I would see what they have to say. I have all sorts of things I could say, but because we're going to use their deck, I want to see what are some of their thoughts on this. Let me see if I can. I probably should have read this before. Let's see. Spreads. I guess I feel like in their other guidebooks they give some general thoughts about the season. This one doesn't seem to do that, which is fine. So that's okay, because I do know a little bit about it. So it's also the season when we can really connect to our ancestors astrologically, so a little bit outside of the Celtic lore. We're in, this enters at the midpoint of Scorpio season. So even though it's technically celebrated on November 1st, the real midpoint is actually about the 7th, but we'll just go with, when it starts being celebrated. And I like that alignment with Halloween and the Day of the Dead. And it is this time where that veil to the other, like the realm of the dead and the spirits, is a little bit more thin. And it's the darkest season, definitely sort of like the mystery of things, really getting into the deep, dark mystery of things, where there's actually a lot of vitality and life force that gets freed in that. So this week, or for this reading, I am doing 3 piles, because I have a slightly, I wouldn't call it a long reading, but a little bit longer than what I've typically done for these Celtic seasons, because I've decided to do a more structured reading. I was just feeling that with being in Scorpio season, that Scorpio energy likes things to be precise and strategic, and so I was just feeling that like it needs a little bit more structure to it than what I typically just kind of intuitively feel what's coming out. So I will be using kind of a card spread, but in my own, it's a card spread that one of the decks I'm using gave, but I'm kind of putting my own twist onto it. Okay, so I am not going to flip over these cards. I picked them right before I started recording. I don't know what they are. So I'm going to have you tune in either to the pile number or the rock that I put on them. And these rocks were chosen for personal associations I have with them. These are rocks I collected at different destinations I've been. I kind of don't want to say what those are either, because I just really want you to kind of feel intuitively drawn. When I get to your pile, I'll talk about your rock. But I will hold up the rock for each pile so you can see it a little better. So this is pile 1. Your rock is a little bit you know, kind of on the white tumbled side. It feels very smooth for a rock picked up in nature, at least. Pile 2, it's a little bit more of a speckled rock. It does also feel somewhat smooth for a kind of just pick up off the ground type of rock. Definitely feels like it has some quartz in there maybe. And then pile 3 has a little bit more of a chalky feel to it, a little bit more of a sandstony. I don't think it's sandstone, but it has more of that limestone or sandstone kind of feel, a little chalkier. So those are your 3 piles. You can pause here if you need to kind of feel into them and just feel into which one is really drawing you in, and that will be your read for the coming 6 weeks. We'll start it at November 1st into near the end of December is when this one will go to. So a good 6-week chunk of time. All right, I will see you in your readings when you're ready, and timestamps are in the description so you can jump straight to your reading. Hello, Pile 1. Welcome to your Samhain season reading. You guys picked this smoother white stone. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history, just a quick minute of backstory on this, as I do feel like it holds some context for the reading. So I picked this up on the coast, the west coast of Scotland, where there's a lot of Celtic history, pagan history, and a lot of mysticism. And I after I picked this one up, which came it was like I was drawn to it. I found it immediately. It just sort of like I was kind of magnetized to it. But I decided I needed a second one to go with it, and that one took a little bit longer to find and pair. So there's something about this. There's both a lot of spiritual energy, but a lot of magnetism as well. Like, I think this reading will be one where you'll intuitively probably grasp in the context of your own life what this is trying to touch into. So that's kind of what I'm getting from that stone. So I have put out the initial cards for your spread. We are going to add some other cards to this. But this main deck that I'm using, where you'll see a lot of birds, is new to me. So I kind of wanted to not waste your time reading all the descriptions. So I shuffled and drew your cards, and I've gotten into the guidebook to understand these cards and to kind of feel into a picture of what's going on here. But we are going to get into these in just a minute. I want to start with the card that was connected to your stone from the Season of the Witch Samhain Oracle deck. And this is sort of the overarching theme of sort of the energy that Samhain is wanting to connect you to. And you picked the card that says Elements, and it's number 16. And it says, remember to feel the warmth pulsing through her womb. You are a child of mother. True harmony awaits you. And just notice the 4 women here. And when I read the guidebook for this will make a little bit more sense what these 4 women represent. So it says, do you feel the heat of the fire, the dampness of water, the whip of the wind, and the weight of the earth? Imagine being Mother Earth, dealing with all the elements. Somehow she manages to find harmony. The elements can represent harmony and the need to make room for all energies by allowing yourself to be present. For example, if you feel sad, sit in the sadness and ask your sorrow what it needs to know. The same applies for the different emotions that come up for you. You are being guided to find harmony despite the various storms blowing your way. There is a reason for every symbolic storm, every quake, every fire, and every mudslide. You may not see the reasons behind these events. Nevertheless, the occurrences are happening so that you can release this energy, making way for healing to take place. Each season in your life must have time with you. Each must allow the abundance and bountiful color of spring and the creativity and illumination of summer, but you must also allow the releasing and shedding of fall. Things must fall away once they've served their purpose, and do not forget the quiet hibernation of winter. Don't fight against your season. Flow with them, embracing each one for the gift offered. So to me, these 4 women represent the different seasons that do connect to different elements. So spring connecting to air, summer connecting to fire, autumn connecting to water, and winter autumn connecting to winter is water. I'm thinking specifically of the Celtic directions. Did I get this right? So spring, air, summer, fire, winter is water. I feel like maybe did I get spring mixed up with autumn? Yeah, spring might be earth in the Celtic wheel, and autumn air. Is that right? I may mix those up. I have so many, like in astrology, there's different associations. In Chinese medicine, there's different associations. In the Celtic wheel, there are. It doesn't matter. Whatever element you associate with the different seasons, you can do it that way. But what the main message here is that there may be an element and a season in you that is needing to be paid more attention to allow it to be, allow it to be present in you and aware in you, and kind of moving through it for what it is, that will bring you a certain balance that you're needing. And even though we are going into sowing, actually in the Celtic wheel is the entry point into the wheel. It's in the darkness, in that darkest season is where the seed starts to kind of come to life in that dark area. So to me, there's something beginning this season that needs an element balanced for it to really be able to kind of crack open, to really come online. And even though, getting back to, sorry, my mind got scattered for a minute. Obviously, I'm a little scattered in general with this reading. So that's definitely saying like maybe there's a mind thing, like an air element thing that needs some balance, because I'm usually not this kind of all over the place. So even though we are going into Samhain, which starts us into the water element, in the Celtic wheel, I believe that we have other seasons, a season of life, or just our astrology may be oriented so that like our personal spring may begin in the winter. So I don't think that you have to say, okay, well, the water element and going into the north is what needs balance for me. That's going to be present anyway, and that's already going to be establishing some of its energy and balance inherently. I want you to look at these women and feel into which one feels the least balanced in you personally. Is it the fire element? Is it the water element? Is it earth? Is it air? Yeah, that actually makes sense. That is the Celtic. So air is spring, earth is autumn, winter is water, summer is fire in the Celtic wheel. That helped me to, confirm that. But you may have other associations with the elements. So which element to you feels like it needs some balance, like it's trying to get your attention, it's trying to make you present to it, to nourish it and be with it and allow it to be there? And which kind of season does that bring up to you? Does that feel springish? Does it feel summerish? Does it feel autumnish? Does it feel winterish? Do you feel like you're about to initiate something? Do you feel like you're ending something? Do you feel like you're coming into the creativity of something? Like, what is it that needs your attention right now in order to find some balance? Okay, we are going to pick from another Celtic Wisdom Oracle deck, another card to just kind of flesh this out a little bit more, what this overarching theme is for the season of the 6-week season of Samhain for you. I'm feeling this one. The White Stag. So shape-shifting, support, other world. I do know, and still stick with your intuition and what you feel, but I do know that in the Celtic wheel, the stag would be associated with the north, which is the direction we are entering into with Samhain. But still stay with whatever element is popping out to you and whatever kind of season is popping out to you. The stag is here. I definitely, have some of my own associations, so I can just sort of riff off of this. It says shape-shifting, support, otherworld, but I absolutely connect the antlers of a stag with that connection to the other world. It's sort of like a receiving station. And the fact that it's like, a big commanding presence, there's some authority with this one too. It's not like, baby antlers. It's not like new, beautiful things. This is like really, communing with spirit about something that's very authoritative in you, very capable of pathfinding and leading and guiding. So you may be needing something to come into balance in you to really claim your sense of authority and your trust in your intuition and your trust in what you feel is being shown to you from higher realms as well. There's something about that needs your attention in Samhain, and it really wants to grow and create some development in you and in your life this Samhain. Okay, one more we're going to do it from this same, it's called Between Worlds deck with the birds. And I'm going to shuffle and then turn the deck over to see the card on the bottom of the deck when it feels right. To add, my intention with this is it's like your signifier. You got, my mind is really, it's like I'm not trusting my mind in this reading for some reason. And I feel like that's something that's needing to be paid attention to here. Part of your journey in autumn is like finding more focus and more trust in your kind of mental command. With the stag here, it's saying like it's there, but it's just like it's not balanced. You haven't given it enough energy lately. So it's starting to feel hard to trust it because of that. And so it just needs some nurturing to kind of get back on track. Okay, let's see what's under the deck. We've got growing pains. Yeah, and I'm not going to read, I'm reading this one more intuitively than going to the guidebook to check it out. And I do feel that. I feel like your mind is ready to grow, to help you really embrace some sort of authority and trust like authority and power and mastery that it has. But you're like at a boundary you just need to push at the same time as needing to nourish your mind, and trust sort of spiritual information that comes into it. It's like trusting the command that's there. And there's some, like, I feel like that's there. It's not like the growing pains are about what your mind knows and how you utilize your mind. It's about trusting it. And there's some growing pains that this season may bring your way, all in an effort to help you reestablish some trust in your mind. And it might be that it like needs some alignment with like your heart and your soul, because really it's like our heart that this is the command center. Our intuition should be the command center, and our mind should serve that. And as that tool, it's very honed, but it's like maybe there's some connections that are needing to be made between mind and heart in order to really trust the information and wisdom and like authority your mind has cultivated. It's like needing to be, just like some connections needing to be made to heart and intuition from your mind so that you can better trust what's wanting to come in and out of it. Very interesting. Okay, so now we're going to look at these other cards that are out. It's a 5-card spread. We're going to look at an underlying need, an obstacle, available resources, potential risks, and outcome. And I'm going to try and plug that back into the context of things we've already talked about here. So the underlying need is universal body. This card right here, and this has a lot to do. This card is in the category of one of the forces, and so your body being a force. And I think this plugs in very well to what we've already talked about. There's something in your body. The underlying need is there's something in your body that needs tending to in order to feel your balance. And I do feel that some of this body stuff may be a certain anxiety coming through, because when our mind is involved, our mind can throw us into a lot of anxiety. And so I feel like you may be in places where you feel certain anxiety in your body that you don't always know where it comes from. I mean, that is kind of the definition of anxiety. It's like a nervousness that you don't know where it comes from. And in the context of this reading, it's talking about helping to calm that by being present with how your mind and your heart connect. So that you can trust the information that your mind has and know through your heart when to use it and how to use it. It's just like this certain alignment, and it will do a lot for your physical self, for your sense of embodiment, for your comfort in your own body and in your own emotions. So the main obstacle to overcome here, or that's in your way of this, is this domination card. And this has a lot to do with giving our power away or having our power sort of stolen from us in certain ways. But I do, in the context of what I've already kind of felt and seen, I feel like this is a lot about you potentially leaking your power or not using it, caging it, because you don't, it's like that trust between mind and and intuition is just like needing some tenderness, needing some nurturance, needing some work to really make reconnections there. And this obstacle is pointing to the fact that the cage door is opening here. I think there's information streaming towards you, into you, all around you, that will help you overcome this, because the door is wide open. You just need to sort of look and say, like, what are the resources around me that can help me with this? Are there some people that do this well around me? Are there some courses kind of coming my way? Am I seeing some books or courses kind of being advertised to me, or that other people are talking about? Yeah, it may be like someone you know that you're like, how can I be like them? And it actually has a lot to do with this mind heart or mind intuition connection that you're needing to sort of revamp. But trust that, like, because there's opening here, even though it's an obstacle, there's opening here. So like, trust that if you just look, you will find the exact information you need to really tip you into knowing how to nourish this and nurture it and move through these growing pains. Okay, so the next card is all about the resources available to you. And you have multiplicity, and this has a lot to do with getting out of binary thinking. So again, we're going back to the mind, some things of like, that's your side, this is my side, or this is the right way to do things and that's the wrong way to do things. And I mean, there's so many more ways you can think about this. But I think whatever information is starting to come your way that we already saw the opening in this, in your obstacle, and now in the available resources, this is adding in that there are things around you that are quite available, if you look, that will help your mind kind of break out of some areas. I'm not saying that your mind is very black and white. I'm saying there's something about how your mind and heart connect that has gotten a little brittle and needs some growing pains. It needs some refurbishing. It needs some new connections made that are a little bit more able to hold dualities, able to hold more complexity, able to be like, this and that are both right, when you sit in their shoes. And so where's the commonality? Where can some common ground be found? Because neither this or that is wrong or right or bad or good or this or that. Each side of any polarity is alive with a lot of diversity and a lot of complexity, which means that there are a lot of touch points of commonality between any polarity. And there's something that your mind, I think, is needing to grow in that. In an intuitive sense, you may grasp that concept, but how it's used intuitively and how you can, like I said, I think that's already kind of mentally in there, but it's like, I don't intuitively always trust that, though, how to express it or how to articulate it or how to know when to use that or how to use it. And there's things, there's resources around you that are really going to help you with this. It's about looking, and it's about starting to trust the things that are trying to help you in this, and opening up to new ways of seeing. And I just feel like there's some information around you, some people or information around you, or some modeling you may see even in an interview or something, that's gonna it's the resources you need to be like, oh, look how they do that. I think the way they do, but I needed to see how that was used and articulated, and that person or this book or this thing really flipped that switch on for me, and like, oh, now I know how to wire this to be able to use it in the world, how to bring it out of me in the world. Yeah. Okay, and then the next card over is this one, and it's about potential risks that will come up by kind of pushing into this Samhain theme. And you've got Valley of the Quest. And I actually love this risk. I feel like this is a risk that's a very natural risk. It's very organic risk. It's just the risk of setting yourself upon a new journey. So whatever you come across, those resources you come across to get over these obstacles, to really know how to connect the things your mind knows to your heart, to know how to use them, is going to set you off on a whole new journey. And so this Valley of the Quest is the starting point of a hero's journey. It's the beginning of a journey. It's the first. All of the Valley cards in this deck are about types of journeys, and this is the very first journey. It's the journey into a journey. And so this is all about being outside of your comfort zone, pushing your perspective, setting off like the Fool in the tarot deck into a whole new world, a whole new realm where you're not completely familiar or comfortable yet, but it stretches you, it pushes you, it opens the doors to all sorts of new things for you. And so the risk here is maybe an unwillingness to be a beginner in some ways, or to allow yourself to make mistakes, or allow yourself to say the wrong things sometimes. What the antithesis to the risk is yes, that is a risk, but you have to just do it anyway, and just know in yourself that it's growing pains, a learning journey, and that you're growing at a really, really rapid pace, and you will learn very, very quickly if you just allow yourself to use the new resources and connections that are being made within you. And then the outcome here is this card, and it's Vexation. And this plugs back into what I was talking about at the very first card, where there's some anxiety. And but this anxiety is has a little bit more specificity. It's about a decision needing to be made that weighs heavy, and I do feel like it may have to do with this journey being asked of you. It may be a journey that comes to you rather than you seeking it, and you have to kind of come to that decision for yourself to step onto it, and it's weighing on you. And so there's some like, that's the vexation of like, what do I do? I'm nervous about this, but it's weighing on me, and I have to make the decision. There's a decision that has to be made, and I would say that this is all trying to tell you to make the decision to plunge yourself into the new world, into places that are unfamiliar and uncomfortable to you, because they hold so much growth for you. And yes, some of that growth will be painful, but any journey has growing pains. That's what it's all about. We don't grow unless we go through some growing pains and embrace, being pushed a little bit. So I feel like that's what's coming up here. Okay, we are, to end this, going to do some tarot cards as confirmation cards on top of each of these 5 journey into the season elements. So we've got Queen of Fire over the universal body. And I feel like this is, let's see, I think we need to push these up a little. I feel like this is what your body wants to feel like, the Queen of Fire, this ability to just feel intuitively. And look at this. Oh my gosh, this symbolism kills me. Look at the heart illuminated in the candle glow and her crown as antlers. This is all about connecting mind and intelligence and downloads that you receive from the other world, from higher places, to your heart, and being able to express them with a command and a confidence that comes from a nourished place, that comes from a place of wanting to create connection and healing and community kind of vibes. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, let's look at the obstacle. The call. Yeah, I mean, this makes sense to me, sort of like your power is trying to, let's move these back up. Your power is trying to get you to let go of the things that where you've caged yourself from, kind of suppressed or oppressed yourself from really expressing yourself in the world. There's something lifting off of you. This obstacle is really beautiful because it's showing what the obstacle is, but it's been done nothing but show that it's already on its way out. It's like this is already clearing. There's something being lifted off of you where you're feeling that call to, take the shackles off, step out of the cage, and just let what's natural in you start to come out. Okay. And then we're going to look at available resources. The moon. So like normally I would read the moon as some confusion, but because this is available resources, this has to me a lot to do with spiritual information, synchronicities, all like guides around you, all sorts of spiritual stuff trying to download in you to help you really find that trust in your mind and that trust to connect it into your heart in new ways. I think you're getting downloads, and Spirit is sending synchronicities to help push you to the right people, the right information, the right things that pull this new connection into being. So it's just sort of like trust those spiritual guidances that are coming in, trust the downloads that are coming in. It's very spiritually centered, which doesn't surprise me because of the stone you picked. Okay, let's look at that potential risks. Justice. This is, going all the way back to the start about this being something that can harmonize and balance you. This is by pushing yourself into a new journey, saying yes in that decision to something that feels a little out of your comfort zone. It is the exact thing you need to help bring balance to your life. And yes, there are risks in that, and there's some growing pains in that, but that is what's needed for your balance to be reestablished. Okay, and then the last one, we'll look at the outcome here. And the outcome, even though we kind of get ahead of the curve on the outcome in the reading in general, is about making that decision to push your boundaries, get outside of your comfort zone. And the Four of Air. Yeah, again, this is like a lot of deliberation, a lot of contemplation taking place. And this is saying it's okay, and plugging into the current Scorpio season energy. Maybe it's not that you're deliberating on yes or no. It's more of a deliberation of like how to more strategically step into the yes, how to step into the yes from an empowered place. And there's like some contemplation that you're doing that's sort of weighing heavy on you, because I think there is some time pressure on this. And maybe there's some fear that like it will disturb your current peace. And so you're just like, how do I do this in a way that aligns for me? And so what I'm saying here is that it's okay to spend a minute to contemplate this, but in the end, trust that mind-heart reconnection that's really potently rewiring in you right now. Don't get too lost in the weeds with the mental end of contemplating this. Trust some of the intuition, trust some of the spiritual energy around you. So much of, there's a system that's kind of like a sister of astrology called human design. And one of the main takeaways I take from it is that in decision making, it's not our mind that should be making the decisions. It's what's called our strategy and authority, and it's our body, our intuition. For each of us, we have different ways that our body connects to intuition, and so I won't get into those, but it's our body, whether it's through your gut or through some emotional waves that need to be settled, or through just an instinct that comes, a certain just knowing hit. There's all sorts of different ways how this comes. And I think this is saying, like, stop putting it all on your mind, this yes or no deliberation, or how to say yes, in what way to say yes. Ask your body really specific questions. Should I do it this way or that way? Do I want to feel this way or that way? And wait for your body to have these really strong, and reactions. Don't put it all on your mind. Ask your body questions and see how it responds, to get out of so much heaviness in your mind and get it back into making a decision that's needing to be made here, using that new wiring, your body making the decision and your mind making a strategy based on that decision. Okay, that's where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this resonated. If so, I always appreciate the things like, share, subscribe. And I am just really grateful for all of you that come here and support my channel. It's just, I enjoy doing this so much. So it makes me happy when people get a lot out of it as well. And definitely always appreciate kind and thoughtful comments as well. Just nice to feel that human presence. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy for you to be here as well. Okay, happy Samhain, everyone. I hope your 6 weeks through November and part of December is, filled with, some really exciting kind of things pushing you into a new journey and a whole new fresh balance coming in through how you kind of rewire heart and mind. And that's beautiful. All right, I will see you guys in future readings, and I hope you have a beautiful day wherever you are. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your Samhain reading, the Celtic season that goes from basically the start of November until about winter solstice. I was trying to pull that name out. So you guys picked this rock, which I will give just a tidbit of its backstory, because I do feel like it has some influence on where this reading is going. So I picked this stone off the western coast of Scotland. I had picked up one stone that I felt drawn to, and it felt like it needed a companion stone, and I was trying really hard to find one just like it. I mean, not exactly, but like a same size and coloring, and it just wasn't happening, and I was really frustrated. And I finally was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not supposed to find that stone here. Maybe I'll have a different stop in Scotland and its partner will will come to me, you know. So I kind of had to let go of these sort of rigid expectations and just kind of like walk away. And suddenly, as I was walking away, I spotted this one, and I just kind of knew. I'm like, oh, that's the partner, and it looked nothing like the other one. But I just kind of knew. And so because of the cards I've already put out for your reading, it's helping me to see, in the context of the story of this stone, that there is a lot around Samhain that you will be pushed into really going on a journey of trusting your intuition and kind of letting go of preconceived things, of expectations, of certain mental pressures, and just kind of stepping back. But let's get into the cards to actually see the context of what I'm talking about here. So this is the card that was matched with your stone from the Season of the Witch Samhain deck, and it's going to hold the main overlay energy for your Samhain, and you have Wolf. Devour the ferocious calling within the howling of your spirit. Run wildly into the freedom of your knowing. So I'm going to read from the guidebook to just expand on that. It says, our instincts are a roadmap to surviving this human experience. Instincts give us the urge to eat when hungry, to cover up when cold, to seek sex when aroused, and to sense danger even when we cannot see it with our own eyes. Instincts and intuition are gifts from the powers that be to help us discover happiness, support, and well-being. Intuition is our inner knowing that connects us to the intelligence of the spirit realm and to the intelligence of the earth. Sadly, many of us have muted our animal natures. We've become too reliant on what we can see and have forgotten to tap into the intelligence that is already available to us. Wolf is calling to remind you that you know your way home. You may feel lost or confused about something in your life. You may not know which direction to travel or what is safe to pick up along the way. Wolves allow your instinct to take over. You receive this guidance through the urges you feel. It's like a push and pull right in the center of your being. Take a few moments to feel these urges when faced with a decision. You can start with something small, like which toothpaste to buy or which blog to read. This will help you to build trust in your instincts. Eventually, you will be able to tap into this energy and use it for every decision you make in life. So the story I told about the stone, I feel like perfectly exemplifies what this wolf is talking about. Like sometimes we just need to like get out of our head and these expectations and like just let things be and let our instincts and intuition kick in, which may be spirit speaking to us. And that is sort of like what happened with the stone. As soon as I kind of like let go and just sort of trusted a broader flow of things, it was all very easy instead of feeling frustrating and difficult. Even though it's a really silly example, but you know, it's a microcosm of something probably bigger for each of you. Okay, so we are now going to get a couple of extra oracle cards to expand on this theme of the wolf that connects to something about the energy in your Samhain. So we're going to pick a card from sort of like a Celtic wisdom oracle deck. We've got standing stones, ancestors, gateways, and sacred. I just want to look in the guidebook. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just want to see what other keywords it gives. I mean, it feels to me this feels to me like a good practice for you this Samhain to really help you to connect to that animal aspect of you, that instinct and intuition, may be to make an altar somewhere very quiet and peaceful in your house that you can visit daily as a ritual that creates a sacredness around that space and makes a space where you can very focusedly and with intention kind of commune with spirit. For some of you, it may make sense to call in ancestors. I don't know if you have loved ones that have passed or if you have a lineage. You know, like for me, I'm exploring some of my much older lineage that is in Scotland, and so even though those are not people I knew because they lived a long time ago, I am sort of feeling called right now to put some little Scottish things to kind of invite those ancestors in there. It's feeling like something I'm wanting to connect into from them. So whatever feels right to you, maybe there's some general areas of lineage, or there may be some people you've heard stories about that you never met, or there may be actual loved ones that you want to invite into this sacred space that can really help you work on connecting to intuition and practicing communing with them and the spirit world to help you kind of practice instinct and intuition as well. Yeah, but I think in general, it's about creating a sacred space and somewhere you can focus and really kind of commune with something more spiritual, that maybe just the thing you need to help plug you more deeply into intuition and instinct. Okay, I'm going to pick one more to kind of flesh out this overarching theme from the same deck of these other cards you see. And it's actually more of a significator card. I'm going to shuffle for a minute and then flip over to see the card on the back of the deck, which is going to represent something about you. And I'm not looking for a card flipping out. I'm looking for that timing when it feels right to flip the deck over. Scholarship is the card that's coming out here. And I'm not going to read, I'm just more intuitively reading this card. For the other cards, I've already read into them, but I purposely want to just more intuitively read this. And to me, what's coming here is, I actually feel, I don't know what this is intended to be, but it feels like that same thing that the standing stones or an altar is representing, a place of focus that you can make sacred, where you can come into some stillness, where you can tap into some of your inner light and some darkness. Yeah, it's like there's something about creating a still space that's important for this wolf energy to really come through for you, to really help you plug into instinct and intuition. Okay, we are now going to jump into these cards you've probably already been looking at a little bit, which are laid out in a specific spread. So we're going to be looking at an underlying need this season, what an obstacle might be, what are the available resources to help you overcome that obstacle and gain, push into that underlying need, a potential risk that may come up by being on this path of what that need is, and then an outcome. So starting over with creativity, this is the underlying need. And this spread, how these cards came out, like the story was so crystal clear to me. So I may breeze through your reading a little faster than I did the first one, because it just was so clear what was happening here. But I hadn't done these cards yet. I didn't even know what these cards were. So, except for the wolf, but I hadn't read the guidebook. And now as I'm looking at this, look, this bird is basically at an altar. That's so interesting. But what this is saying, an underlying need here, is there is something creative that I think you're feeling called into. A creative project, just an expression, just tapping into creativity for the sake of creativity. It may have purpose, it may not, but there's something that your instincts and soul and your intuition is trying to draw you into in terms of really investing in creatively engaging yourself in something. But there's a problem, the underlying or the obstacle to overcome is showing, plugging back into my rock story, that it's like there's some grasping though. There's some maybe expectations. So for a lot of you, I feel like you maybe already have a notion of, you feel that call instinctively, that wolfness is like, yes, I need to do something creative. But I think maybe your mind is getting entangled here of like, yes, I would really like to write this book that falls in this genre, and it's generally this story, but then when you sit down to write it, it's just like, I just am not feeling it. I don't know how to feel the creativity here, to feel inspired. I can't feel my instinct intuition. Something's blocked, and it's this force. So there's this obstacle here of like, maybe you're trying to force something. The way I was trying to force finding this companion rock initially, that just wasn't happening. And so there's an obstacle in potentially needing to just kind of let go of even the project altogether for a minute. If not, just kind of like stepping away for a breather. Minimally kind of like stepping away from, it needs to be this, and here's the outline, and no. It's like something's too boxed in. For some of you, it may be stepping away altogether, like, you know what, this just isn't the timing to write this book. Or what, like whatever the creative thing is for you. So our next card is going to show some resources that are available to us to help us come to overcome some of that obstacle in our way. And I love the card that showed up. It's compassion. And in this deck, the context of compassion is a lot about self-compassion, and the description reminded me exactly of the Empress in the tarot. This is all about diving in to the luxury and the pleasure and the beauty of life, really relaxing into, your body and nature, and just enjoying all of the beautiful things around you to enjoy, kind of letting go of stresses, letting go of shoulds and coulds and this and that, and just being present to what feels beautiful to you, what feels right to you, what nourishes and beautifies your life. Like just dive into the beauty and the nourishment of life all around you. And something about those available resources, there's something about that should be available to you, should you look for it or put some effort into that is really going to relax that grasping. It's going to kind of maybe take your mind off of things, help you to let go of maybe something where it's just like not happening, and just being like, okay, I'm just going to be present to life and enjoy the beauty, the bliss, the pleasure of the material realm, of being alive, of inspiration all around me, that doesn't have to connect to anything, that doesn't need to be directed towards anything. It just needs to be experienced and taken in. And there's something about that really helps you get over this thing of the grasping. And I would say in my story of the rock, when I did let go, I suddenly was also just like in this beautiful environment, and like, okay, stop stressing about this other companion rock I need, and just take it like, look where I am. This is so beautiful. I'm on a shoreline in these mystical Celtic lands, and just like, wow, this is amazing. Just kind of took that in, and then like it just you know, because I wasn't grasping any for something and just was in the beauty and the pleasure of the moment, it was like suddenly what I needed just kicked in so easily and automatically and with flow. So moving from here, the available resources, we are going to look at now what are the potential risks. And to me, this isn't like, oh, you should be wary of this risk. To me, this feels like a risk it feels like a risk to you. You already kind of know this, probably as I've been speaking, maybe it's even come up of like that letting go. Whatever creative thing you've been grasping at, or that is starting to come into mind, but just like kind of hitting some blocks, it may feel like a risk to you to just like let that go. Completely. Like maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe this isn't the right thing. And enter into this liminal space. Enter into a space where you're between things, but where everything is then possible. It feels like a risk to you, but this is what that path is calling for. It's that complete letting go of being between things, having nothing specific you're directing that energy towards, just being in that betweenness, in the pleasure and beauty of being present to life. But what's going to happen is whatever you let go of, if it's meant to be that creative thing you do, it's going to come back. But it's going to come back to you much more emerged, much more natural, much more inspired, much more flowing. But that risk is something else may come up, that it may mean that book or that creative project or that thing I was grasping at actually isn't the right timing, but this thing is. So it doesn't matter if it comes back or if it's something else that comes up in its place. The point is getting to this outcome, that something emerges from you that is connected to the divine, that is connected to intuition and instinct and this really, really deep place of being in sacred space and communion with the other worlds out there and with your own inner world. And yeah, it's just like something will just emerge, like fully formed almost, like, oh, I need to write this book, and I know exactly, like I don't even really have to map it out because it's in my, like I just see it and I just need to start writing. It's in me and I'm compelled and I just need to go and do and be and be in this. And it's just like the flow takes over and you just make something. That creativity just now is flowing rather than grasping. So I feel like, yeah, this Samhain, you're going to be on this journey of like really reconnecting to your creativity in a much more intuitive and instinctual way. But it could feel painful at moments of like really having to let go of certain expectations, of certain visions you've had. But ultimately, it's trying to help you stop kind of feeling that block, that hitting your head against the wall, that struggling to make something happen when it just feels like it's so walking through mud or quicksand, and something else emerging that may be connected to that or not, that's just easy and flowing. Okay, we are, to end this reading, going to pick a confirmation tarot card for each of these 5 cards on the journey, just to add just a little extra context. So, King of Earth under creativity. So whatever this creative thing is, it may even have to do with how you're making an income, how you something you already feel sort of an authoritative command of, but like that's gotten stuck, or something connected to how you make money or what your career is, position in the world. But there is like this, there is a seriousness around it. It's not just, so I get the feeling that this creativity isn't just for the sake of creativity. I feel like there's maybe a goal here. And so I could see, you know, like with a king, I just imagine trying to talk to a king of like, let it go, just be present. So there may be a lot of resistance in you to this because it's like some kind of, maybe connected to some kind of goal, but you kind of need to maybe get over being a little too big for your britches, I might say, and just kind of like, okay, I just need, you know, I have hit the wall, and so it's time to engage in what we've seen here of just really letting go and trusting in my intuition and instinct that it will deliver me to a much better place that ultimately would be better for that income or position or general sense of enjoying and feeling connected to life at all. Okay, so with the obstacle, we have 5 of Waters, which is all about walking away from something. Yeah, so when I was talking about this card, I was like, it might be just like time to step away from something or time to be like, this isn't the right timing altogether. And this is making me more inclined to say, like, it's not just taking a breath from something, it's really letting go, like, this isn't the right time. Whatever this is, it's not the right time, it's not working, I'm stepping away altogether. It may still come back, but the mentality that needs to be found is like, this isn't working, I'm just walking away, it's not working. Okay, back to, oops, oh, I love this. Available resources. We have Queen of Earth on the compassion, which I felt a very deep connection to Empress energy, and I feel like Empress and Queen of Earth are very similar. This is all about embodiment, trusting your, going back to the wolf, which is very feminine energy, trusting your intuition, trusting your instinct, to start being present to what is beautiful, what is grounding, what is pleasurable about life. And that is going to give you a new trust in yourself that, you know, like fertility is all around when I start being present to that. And I can see so much of how to make things of the world, of the material realm, in a way that feels soulful and not from a more rigid, you know, going from the King of Earth to the Queen of Earth is stepping away from a little bit of like ego and rigidness to a little bit more of like what actually nourishes me. I still have a lot of command here and a lot of kind of like authority here, but it's coming from a much more nourishing place instead of kind of needing to prove something or hold responsibility for things that maybe you at this point with this creativity don't need to hold responsibility in or have these crazy expectations in. It's like, no, I have a command, but that needs to be directed to really nourishing my soul instead of it needing to be something big in the world. It could still be, but at the inception, the origin of this really has to come from this natural, nourishing, beautiful place. Okay, and then we had a card that just dropped out back on the risk, what risks may come up, which is about maybe some fear of being in that in-between place. What this is showing is that by stepping into that in-between place, a place between things, you know, I let go of this, you know, I let go of that one creative project, and I'm in this liminal space because I don't quite know what's next. But this is showing that in that liminal space, you're going to be attracting in soul community, soul tribe, people that really nourish you, hence experiences and community that really nourishes you. And so there are some amazing, beautiful gifts that come in by allowing yourself to be somewhere more liminal. Okay, last card, we're going to look at this emergence. What actually then is the outcome here, what more naturally flows out of you that's creative, that's now in a flow state, and that's now deeply connected to instinct and intuition and spirit. And yeah, let's get a little extra here. We've got 5 of fire. Yeah, this is coming out. Whatever does arrive, what comes out of you. Hold on, I'm so finicky about cards being right. I just want to fix these. What comes out of you more flowing and more, natural and more fully formed and inspired, you're going to know exactly what to do with it. It's not just, kind of coming back to that king. It's not just going to be, look what I made. This is cool and fun and how beautiful, but it's going to be something that comes out of you that you're going to be like, you know what? This, maybe it's a different book or a short story, and you're like, this actually really belongs in this journal or at this publisher, and you're all of a sudden going to know exactly what to do with this that came out of you. It has a destination to go to, and you're going to know what that is, and you're going to start taking steps to get it to its right place, like it already belongs to something, and you just have to trust that instinct and that intuition of those knowings of there's already some plans for this, that it's already supposed to be a part of. It's was entangled at its inception, and maybe something that publisher's looking for, and the idea that came out of me was connected to a same thread, a same wave. I do feel like those things happen, and so if I submit to them or send it to them, it's going to be the most natural acceptance and most natural yes, because they're already connected. So this will go somewhere. It's sort of like you have to step out of the rigidity of the king to become a little bit more of a queen, a little bit more of an empress, a little bit more of a spiritual liminal creature, wolfness. But then when something reemerges, you'll step right back into this, connecting to some kind of responsibility or position in the world, some bigger goal. But you do have to let go of that for the time being. So yeah, very cool, very interesting. I don't know, this reading came out so clear to me. So I hope it feels clear to you, and I hope, even though there are things that aren't necessarily easy about this, none of them will be. They all have their obstacle and their risks. But saying that, it just feels beautiful what unfolds in this, despite some of those obstacles and whatnot. It feels like a beautiful unfoldment. So I wish you all the best in Samhain, in this season, in this kind of journey that it's pushing you into. And if this resonated, I always appreciate the like and share and subscribe. And thank you for coming. I always appreciate those of you that support my channel, that come here time and again. I love doing readings so much, and so I'm just happy when other people want to see them, because I feel like I would probably do them anyway if I only had one view. That being said, I also always appreciate kind and thoughtful comments, and I hope you have a beautiful day wherever and whenever you are. All right, see you guys. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your Samhain reading, all about kind of an energy and things you may experience during this season. That's basically the beginning of November through to winter solstice. Obviously, that's kind of northern hemisphere based. If you're in the southern hemisphere, let's just give it the same time frame, even though it may feel a little bit different in season for you. It's still a timeless reading. It's just inspired by the season. So you can come at a very different time of year or from a different hemisphere, and it should still, hold that inspiration true. So to start, I wanted to touch into the stone you guys chose. I mentioned in the intro that I have sort of like little personal backgrounds because these are stones, all the stones I use are ones that I've just kind of collected in places that felt special to me in the moment. And this one is from a place called Bryce Canyon in the state where I live, and just has that desert feel of, there's a lot of exposure, there's a lot of deep, long geological history of how this place was formed. And I visited, when was this? I think it was in the winter last year, and there was a dried up riverbed, and it was kind of like an off-season time of year to be there, so there weren't a lot of tourists. And I was on a hike with my husband, and there was like nobody there, and it was so quiet and so peaceful. And this dried up riverbed just had this feeling of like a really thin place to the other world, and I just kind of felt inspired to pick up a stone there. So bringing this into your reading, why that might be significant is I do feel like you will have that experience during this 6-ish week period of time from when you see this, or if you're really basing it on the seasons, you see it at the right timing of Samhain. And Samhain is a time of going into a very thin place in the Celtic wheel of time, and so I just feel like you will feel that like in a real tangible way. Like you may come across a lot of sacred spaces or a lot of stillness, or just feel like there's something really close to you all the time from the other world. So that being said, let's look at your cards. We're going to start with the card that was attached to your stone from the Season of the Witch, the Samhain version of it. And I'm going to read from the book for this, and it's sort of like the overarching energy for your Samhain season. Okay, so this one says, keep your eyelids open and sight sharp as nails, for there is something trailing behind you, and it's mischief is the key word or the main theme here. And okay, so Samhain isn't just about dark energy, loved ones who have passed, and things that go bump in the night. There is a fun, playful aspect to Samhain as well, a bit of naughtiness and a touch of cunning. There is an element of mischief to the night of Samhain. Trick or treating isn't just about candy. The trick comes from an ancient Samhain tradition when villagers would disguise themselves in animal skins to scare away the demons, ghouls, and goblins that were free to roam the earth for one night every year, often playing cruel tricks on humans. We humans are clever, though, and have found a way to keep the goblins at bay. Not all tricks are fun, however, at least not to all involved. Tricks and mischief can be mean-spirited and cruel at times. One must keep a lookout for those who will find fun at the expense of others. Pulling mischief can mean a need to adopt a smarter approach to your situation. You may need to get creative to get what you want. You may even have to play a trick or two to get the outcome you desire. Be open-minded about how to overcome your challenges and, if possible, approach your situation with a bit of fun. Problems are serious, but that doesn't mean a bit of silliness can't help you to see it in a new way. So I feel like this otherworld energy, this thin place you may be feeling this season, may have a little bit of mischief behind it, and not in a way, like I don't get a sense of like anything to where you really need to protect yourself from that. It's just like a little bit of fey mischief. But what I'm getting from that is you may then, feeling into that dimensional energy, otherworld energy, find some inspiration to approach something in your life in a very different way and kind of shake things up a bit. I feel like there may be something you're going into this season where maybe something in your life feels complicated or stuck, or where you're just kind of hitting your head against the wall with something. And that allowing that thinness and allowing a little bit of mischief from the other side to be there. Obviously hold boundaries to anything serious, but like just getting a vibe of how other dimensions kind of can be playful. I do think it will help tap you into thinking in different ways and opening yourself up to different energies, different ways, different modes of seeing. And I can't help but notice this girl kind of like, you know, seeing from on top of the house, seeing from upside down, looking out the window, scaling things. So it just feels like this need is coming in with Samhain to just change up the way you're seeing things, get a little bit flexible and playful. And like it said, yeah, like maybe what it is you're hitting your head against the wall with isn't silly or fun, but by looking at it in a lot of different ways and with a lighter approach, it's like you suddenly see some dimension of this thing where you're like, oh, here's my access point. Okay, so before we jump into the other cards I have out, I want to add a little bit more context to this overarching theme. I'm going to pull another card, another oracle card from a Celtic wisdom deck that I have, just to narrow in a little bit more of maybe why you need mischief or what the thing is that's needing different perspectives, a shake-up. And we've got the Green Man, Nature, Connection, and Source. And yeah, that to me is just also this thing of especially connecting into the word source, plugging back into the stone of like noticing, you know, and it did say in the description of this, you know, keep your eyes open, stay sharp. There is something about that thin world that like maybe if you just go about your day to day without having awareness of that, tapping into some stillness around that thin place, it may escape your notice, all these kind of other world energies coming in. You may read it as you misreading things, or feeling like someone else did something when really it's just kind of this more thin place. And so like staying really, really connected, and like nature is a great way to feel connected and in the present and a little bit more aware of the subtle and that unseen realm, because source is really reaching out to you. And that's what I'm getting here. Like be in nature, or find ways to be calm and to be in your own nature, to feel plugged into source and to be aware of it, and, you know, keep your eyes open for it, because it's really active. It's going to be at least really active in your life for these 6 weeks. So this is more of like advice about this. It's not more context of what it is. It's like you need to be paying attention to really see these things. Okay, we're gonna pick another card, more as it's gonna be from the same deck as these other bird cards, but this one's intention is more of like a significator. What is your energy in relation to this? Like, what's your vibe at right now? Kinfolk, beautiful. So for these other cards, I've kind of I picked them beforehand on purpose so I could look into the guidebook a little and already be prepared with some thoughts. you know, because it's a new deck to me and I don't know all the meanings. So I just wanted at least some general understandings behind each of the images. But for this one, my intention is just to kind of riff intuitively on what I'm feeling and seeing from it. And, you know, obviously kinfolk brings up to me like your family or your community. Something's really important with someone or some people very close to you in your more day-to-day hub of people you connect into. So this could all plug into, yeah, something you're hitting your head against with someone that someone or some people that are very close to you. And like, I get the sense of like really wanting to feel a closeness, maybe really wanting to feel that community feel, but something kind of like potentially eluding you. Yeah, and I don't know if it's because there's an issue with someone or just this general sense of like wanting to feel that belonging that maybe isn't there. Whatever resonates for you, obviously you'll know what that is for you. So we are now going to dive into the cards I have laid out, which is a very specific spread. So I'm going to talk about real quick, go over the different categories, and then we'll jump into the actual cards. So we're going to be looking at what is the underlying issue, like what is the underlying kind of focus going on here, the underlying need around this big theme coming out for you. We'll look at where there is an obstacle around this, where there are resources that are available to you to help you overcome the obstacle, where there may be some pitfalls or some, I don't want to say dangers, more like where there might be some risks involved. And then we'll look at the outcome here. So this all makes quite a bit of sense as I was looking up the little descriptions. A story did feel like it kind of unfolded pretty naturally. It wasn't like a stretch to figure out how these all connected. So let's dive into it. Passage. This was all about, and so this is connected to the underlying need you have in relation to this big overarching theme of something you need to get more kind of light and flexible with in order to find your inroad or find that solution. And passage brings up that there is like, you are in this place of moving between one thing to another thing, like something new is about to open up to you. And this is saying like, don't force it though. This is like, just like this mischief card says, keep your eyes open. And I relayed that initially to paying attention to that thin place, or you may miss some of the information and dynamic perspectives that it may bring you. That keep your eyes open is also this thing of like, there is a need for you to start on a new path. But you may not know what that path is. So instead of trying to force that path, and that's what I feel like maybe this is like there may be like this lull in your life right now, in some category of your life. It doesn't have to be in your life in general, but in some category of your life, you may feel this like lull, like something's ended, but nothing is really presenting itself. And so instead of sort of like getting crazy about trying to figure out what that is and force something and make something happen, this is more about laying back but not being passive, laying back but being really observant, because it will, what that next thing is going to present itself to you, but you need to be aware, you need to be paying attention. So this is sort of like relax, step back, maybe have a little bit of fun with life, but be aware, like notice what's going on. So the obstacle that plugs into what I've already talked about here is like, so it's the valley of bewilderment, and it's plugging into that sense that already came out with passage of like confusion. You're starting a journey, but where's your inroad? Where is it going? What is this about? I think there's a lot of questions, all the more reason to get dynamic, to start to see things in different ways. So plugging into kinfolk, maybe it's sort of like you're looking for new community or a new way of contributing to community, a new way of feeling closeness in some kind of community. And it's like, you feel like something's about to start there, but it's like, what and why and how? And this is sort of like, almost there's almost an answer in the underlying need to that obstacle of like, relax about it. Something will present itself. And if you try to use your mind to figure these things out, it will only present more bewilderment and more questions. You just need to kind of shake life up a little bit, be observant, be aware. Something's going to present itself, and I think it will be more clear when that happens, what's going on. So the resource available to you is the Wayfinder, and I feel like there is someone around you. I don't know if it would be plugging into the kinfolk, like a family member, a close friend, a counselor, someone from a community you belong to, who pops into your mind when I say the Wayfinder. Is there someone around you where you're like, yeah, they have this ability to kind of like see the big picture of things? There's a resource available to you, like a guide that can really see things from like a higher place. They may not be great with the details and what exactly this is, and but they may be able to be like, generally, why don't you think about this? Or this could be a really great thing to pursue, or just have some general advice on how to start drawing a map, how to start identifying what it is you want to feel, where you're generally wanting to feel yourself in 5 years in this category of life that feels kind of stalled. I don't know, whatever, it may be different for all of you, but there's someone around you that has some wise advice that can help you to start seeing a bigger picture and a longer view of what may be coming up, what a new journey may be, in relation to this kinfolk energy around you, in relation to like plugging back into feeling connected to community. So some risks that may come in relation to all of this is the valley of love. And I don't see this as the higher view saying that this is a risk. I feel this as you feeling that this is a risk. The valley of love is like getting back in touch with your heart. What does your heart want? And something about that may feel scary. Your heart may have felt a little disappointment in whatever category of life you've kind of associated this with, this need to get dynamic in order to find that new perspective, hence maybe a new path forward in something that's a little stalled for you. Something that may have to do with community or some close other or others. Reopening your heart may feel risky to you. But it is something that what I'm feeling is this reading and the energy of Samhain is saying that is what is needed, though. If you want to not feel stalled anymore, if you want that path to open to you, you need to, and even to see and really be present to and feel that thinness to the other world, you need to get back into your heart. And I do think that your heart actually may for some of you, actually may be that wayfinder. If you can't think of a person or someone around you that has that energy that you think could be helpful, it may be that it's your heart, but that you're feeling like that's risky to get back in there as something that could show you the way forward or open something up to you. And it may be that like your heart can help you to not necessarily specify, you know, which community or which person and how to solve that thing, to feel that sense of kinfolk in your life. But it may give you that wisdom of how you want that to feel. That big end goal being, how do you want yourself to feel plugged in or to feel close to someone or some community? How do you want that to feel, instead of thinking about who they are and what it is and where it is and how to get there? How do you want that to feel? How is it you're wanting to feel in terms of close others in your day-to-day life, or a close other? And then coming into the last card here, the Warrior. This is about the outcome. And the Warrior shows this the outcome here is showing this. It's interesting. So reading the description on this, it didn't feel so much like what I would traditionally associate as a warrior. It felt more like this ability to identify the goal, identify an aim and a target, and find a new fearlessness to jump into the unknown, to push your boundaries and really take a leap. It felt more like that than like battling something. It felt more like this finding an aim and a goal and pushing your boundaries to take the leap into some unfamiliar things in order to broaden your life. And that is a theme coming in here. It's like, how can you shake up your perspective and how you're seeing things? And I think by the end of Samhain, there is going to be a new attitude unfolding, unfurling in you of like, oh, I see this differently now. Now I have like a really focused aim here, a really focused goal here. And that's giving me the motivation to put myself in some places that aren't comfort zones, that aren't familiar, that will push me. But having this new fire in you where it's like, yeah, but I'm eager to. Yeah, so a little bit of a shakeup and a little bit of daring and a little bit of reconnecting to your heart. And the outcome of this season is going to, give you a new aim, give you a new focus and a new passion to kind of, leap into the new path that does present itself to you, that passage that opens to you. Okay, to end the reading, we are just going to get one tarot card confirmation on each of these 5 cards of that specific spread, just to kind of flesh it out a little bit more. Okay, so on the underlying need, we've got Messenger of Error. Yeah, and I definitely feel this as like there is a message that's going to be coming to you. So it's more about being, observant, opening your mind, pushing yourself to see things in different ways in order to get that message, rather than putting your energy toward what is the inroad to the new journey. What is the new journey? It's just like shaking some things up, having a little bit of fun and observing, because something is going to present itself to you. A message is on its way, but you could miss it if you don't, get in touch with the thin place, observe, get light, shake up how you're perceiving things. Okay, confirmation on the obstacle. We have Emperor. Yeah, this is sort of like shows maybe a little bit of your own archetype, whereas like maybe you're really someone who likes to understand the order of things. Like you maybe don't do super great in chaos. You really like to have order. And so being in this place of bewilderment may feel just very off balance to you, very difficult for you. And so the advice that I'm feeling coming through is like, this is temporary. You need to let it be, though. Sometimes in that chaos, and when we let an old order break down, we have to do that in order for a new order to birth. And there is this liminal space between that's just part of a life cycle, and you need to just let things fall apart. Maybe you need to live in a little bit of that bewilderment in order to let go of the old and let something new incubate in that chaos. So this is speaking to an archetype in you of like, just tell your emperor archetype that likes order to chill for a minute, to have some patience, and to lighten up in life a little bit. Okay, looking at the resources available to you. This one wants to come out. Ooh, 7 of Fire. This to me is saying you may perceive that like you need to hurry to find that path, because you may have like a little bit of a competitive spirit, and you may feel like, well, someone else is going to snatch my path if I don't find it, or I'm going to fall behind in life or something like that. And this is saying like, no, to get ahead, sometimes we have to get behind a little, or we need to go very slowly in order to move quickly. Just sort of like the tortoise and the hare. There's something you're needing to allow the time to unfold here, and relax about any feeling that you may fall behind in life or miss out on opportunities, or, you know, a competitive spirit in you. Whatever you're perceiving is not actual. It's not real. There's no competition around you. There's nothing and no one else that will take the path opening up to you. So there's no rush, just patience. Okay, a card around the risk that you're perceiving is the 9 of Air. Yeah, I mean, this adds into this need to really start coming from your heart versus your head. There may be some negative mentalities at the moment around what, you know, not overall, but around whatever this is to you, that where you do feel like there's something that's stalled and you're needing to look at it very differently. Yeah, there may be some negative mentalities. There may be some negative information, negative connections, but it's stemming from a resistance of coming through your heart versus coming through your head and things. And there may be a little bit of anxiety due to that. And it's saying if like you can kind of, in looking at this image, I feel this thing of like she's relaxing her mind and opening her heart, and things start to flow. She feels her wings spreading now instead of kind of like batting away things. It's like everything's now orbiting around her, starting to order her around her. Whereas like when, you know, maybe she was too much in her mind, everything got a little chaotic, right? So this is, to me, it's like the risk, the reward much outweighs the risk of getting into your heart and relaxing your mind. Everything will start to flow when you do that. Okay, last card, confirmation on this outcome. I love it. Can't make it up. Ace of Fire. New spark, new love, new creativity, whatever sparks for you. If this is something creative for you, if this has to do with the heart for you, which I feel like a lot of you it may be, but a new spark coming to life and getting very clear about, you know, with that warrior that we talked about, finding, you know, the outcome here of doing this work and going through what Samhain wants you to go through, where this takes you, the destination and the outcome is a new goal, is a new aim, a new focus and clarity about what that is. Hence, a new fire within you, a new spark within you to have courage to take the jump. You will have it. Like right now, hearing this, you may be like, I can't imagine getting to that point that quickly, because I don't know what is happening right now. I am bewildered about something. And this is saying, yeah, but when that idea presents itself to you, or that spark presents itself to you, it will come alive in you, and you will have this sudden new clarity and focus, and something will open in you, and it will be like a light switch. It will just happen, and you will feel inspired and eager to leap. So that is where I'm going to leave you guys. What a Samhain reading. I love this because it definitely feels like this thing of like coming from something stuck, really getting a little bit dynamic, playful, relaxing, letting things be, and suddenly catching a spark that refocuses you and like sends you out into a new journey. So just to really summarize that in like a sentence. Anyway, so I hope you have an amazing Samhain journey. This feels like a really, really revitalizing one, at least in the end. So if this reading resonated, I always appreciate the things, the likes, the shares, the subscribes. Always helpful, and just thank you for everyone who comes here and supports my channel. I love doing readings. I'd probably do them still if only one person watched them, so I just appreciate, it's like a cherry on top to me that people do come and watch them. So thank you, and I'm grateful that people can find some things from this, and I'm grateful for the support. And I always do love kind and thoughtful comments, just to feel that human element out there. But I'm grateful if you just come here too. So that is where I'm going to leave you off, and I hope you have a beautiful day wherever and whenever you are. See ya.